Welcome back. This is Nerd Dad on episode 15 of our Factorio playthrough. I was just looking around the map a little bit, came back, got the car, and looks like our coal's running a little bit thin, so we got to go up and make sure we don't have a coal problem because, well, you know, power running out, never a good thing. So we're just going to run up here really quickly. We're going to make sure that we don't run out of this. You can see we've already kind of cleared off a bunch of banks here. As we talked about last time, how the fields are sparse and dense. If you look at this coal field, it's pretty sparse. What we're going to want to do is come over and grab this one, which is much denser. So we're going to want to get in there and get that fairly quickly. So I want to kind of think about doing that as well. And we got to figure out how we're going to maintain our coal for our power here. I have a feeling with how little steel we're running here, we probably can be pretty aggressive on this. So I'm just going to lay this guy in here like this so that I can lay out the sort of the offset here just in case we need all of it. So I want to get a big bead of coal coming down here. Of course, we got a cliff right in the way, which doesn't help us. Got a tree right in the way, which also doesn't help us. Die tree. Sometimes machine guns are just the way to clear trees, you know what I'm saying? Okay, let's get these guys going, because I think we were pushing that pretty close there for a second. It's kind of sporadic, and that's a little scary when your coal starts doing that, especially as we start pulling more and more power. Having your coal shut down can be a very bad thing, because as we get more and more of the boilers online, what happens is it's a lot harder to restart it. You end up having to try to drop in, like, you know, 800 coal to try to restart your system, and then to get the coal back to your factory, you know, it takes time for it to come down this long bead here. So I want to make sure we don't run any problems there. I'm almost eyeballing this saying maybe we should grab all this. Another thing we could do is we could bring in some petroleum products. We could build a train line right in here, just drop it off and have a sort of a temporary drop until we get nuclear power. So I'm thinking a few things about how we're going to do all that. Really need to get these explosives up, because that's our train's gonna be hindered until we can get those. How are we doing up here? You guys are still keeping them out at the wall? They're still throwing a lot of spitters at us. That is a lot. Look at the size of that pack. Okay, that's one thing we should probably do, is take a quick look at our map and just see if we're looking like we're getting beat up anywhere. Let's take a quick look around our perimeter. I'm whipping the map around right now. We're just looking to see any major, and that's a pretty good swarm of them. I'm just taking looks to see if we got any major damage, because then we'll just go and reinforce that position. But I think we're okay so far. It's going to be soon that I think we're going to start running into troubles. They're going to start getting stronger bugs soon, and that's going to probably cause us issue. Now, we have learned lasers, so we could get those up and running fairly quickly, but we need the batteries, and so again, it's oil products that's going to slow us down. Let's get the explosives, because we know that's one thing we're shooting for. And let's get out here and start doing some oil and gas. At some point I probably could pick up this line, but who's got time, right? Now, let's see how the driving skills get me through here, because this is some... Whoa! I have to make it... Whoa! I made a turn. Oh, and then there's 1,000 trees. Oh, I'm going to get through this. Yay. Oh, my goodness, I actually did it. Okay, what did I hit there? Seriously, I'm like in the middle of the road. This is... Die. What? Oh, like I was hitting that little pebble. Oh, that's like just... No wonder I can't drive. The game's out to get me. The game's against me, man. Okay, are we here? Did we actually already make it all the way over here? Wow, that's actually pretty good. This is a lot of cliff we've got to deal with. We really need to blow this up. So, blow this up. What are we going to do? Well, gee, I don't know. I think what we're going to have to do is we'll pencil in we'll actually build our refineries and things right down in here. and we will blow all this up when we want to get our rail lines in here. So let's start laying out some pump jacks. Let's get these guys laid out. We're going to want them all kind of going up that northern way. Did I bring pipe? No. I will have to run and get pipe in a second. Bump, 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 bump. It's okay. I'll run and get pipe, and then we'll come right back, and we'll be right back here. It'll be almost like it didn't happen. How about that? The miracle of video. I feel like I don't have half as many as we needed, but I'm not seeing any more blue outlines. So apparently we had more than enough pump jacks. We've got 12. That's not going to be anywhere close to enough. We're going to want all of this to feed. I think I want to give myself quite a bit of space up there. I'm not too sure how much space we're going to need, but I'm guessing once I can blow these cliffs up, it won't really matter. So we will... Actually, we haven't even got enough iron plate on us, so... Alright, we'll be right back, and you shouldn't even notice a thing. And we're back, and hey, look, magic pipe. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to get this all hooked up here with some pipe. I just want to keep an eye on what are we going to be doing with this. We're going to probably run a bead right down like this. So if we do that, actually it's probably going to be more like right there. So we're going to need the ability to run off of there. You will reach there. Okay, and that one will be a given. Let's just start running this bead down along here like this. That's going to make it hard to get through, but that's okay. Those ones can be joined. You're going to need to go to there. Got to just try to make sure I can walk through it at some point. So you need to be able to give yourself that ability to maneuver. Be straight where you can. And that one should be joined. You'd be a 2-point out. And this is where we start getting into the heady stuff. Oh yeah, really tough. No, just kidding. Okay, we'll just put that on there. 2 lines out there. Let's go this way. And we'll just jump you over. You're far enough to do that. You should just be able to go like this so we can walk through here. And then we'll just jump you all the way like that. And where are you going? That's where you want to go to. And we can get through that gap. Oops, need a little piece of straight on there. I think we got her. I always think that, and then there's always like one pipe missing for one jack or something, and then like 3 hours later I find this poor pump jack that's been like, oh, I just was neglected the whole time, dude. Right there. Yeah, be like that then. It's always a fine line trying to get the power cord just to reach far enough. I just need to, or it's always like 1 foot short. It's like, no, I wanted to get these, like this one. I want to get you connected to a bunch of things. If I could connect at least 3 of these, this would work perfect. Alright, be like that. It's not like the power cords are expensive. It's just, it seems like, it's like I just don't want to waste it. Okay, we're going to have to jump this to our external outside line here because we haven't really run a huge power line out here yet. I don't really like connecting to the wall because, you know, we'll be expanding this wall and then you knock out your wall and next thing you know, you've dropped the power for a whole section. So, questions? Everybody doing a little pump jack dance here for me? Perfect. Okay, let's get ourselves a few of these. We're going to need a bunch more of that. I should have made a bunch of that before I came out. I thought I grabbed enough ore, but apparently those are kind of piggish. Okay, that's okay. We'll grab those magically again. We'll just put 2 of these guys right here and just start filling that up. Okay. So there we go. We've got ourselves set up. We've got our oil coming out. It's already quickly growing. And I believe we've got our 6 oil refineries with us. Now, we want to give ourselves as much space as possible here. So I think we're going to start way over here. Because we're going to likely at some point have maybe not. I often find that I can actually get by with just the number of jacks I'm putting out here, which is 6. But if we do need to expand, we start getting to like really processing quickly, we may need to keep expanding out this way, and eventually this wall will be gone and we can keep pushing out. Speaking of, look at those little critters. Okay, now, here's the great question. Which side is water? Because right now both sides are oil and gas, and I always get it backwards. I want to guess that water is going to be... I always get this wrong. I always get it wrong. I think it's actually water is left. And then water's right on the factories. The, what are these things called? The chemical plants. In fact, you know what? That's how I can test this. Because it's opposite. That's how I know. Haha! Smart. S-A-M-R-T. I just need one of these and I'll know how to do it. Because when I do this, and do I have anything that converts to water? Of course, none of these are going to be something that uses water. There we go. No, you're a double water. Oh, come on. Find me something that's got a combo job. Thank you. Water's right, water's left. Okay. What that allows me to do is I can actually preset this now so that I only have to hook up one side and I won't have to redo it later. Now we know that we're going to need the water line eventually, so we'll just pipe that in, but then we'll just need to connect it later. That's what I'm shooting for here. Okay. Just get you connected here. Watch, it'll be the exact same, and I'll be like, oh my goodness, I got it wrong again. Okay, so there's some oil coming in. Looking good. And we'll just copy you, paste you in here. What do you mean, beady beep? I'm sitting right there. It's almost, you know what that sounds like? And this is like for people that have, you know, like my age. If you ever watch the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, when it does that bitty bitty, it's like the Roadrunner sticking out his tongue at you and doing that thing the Roadrunner used to do to the coyote. It's like, beep, yeah, you're not catching me. Yeah, it's the same sort of I can imagine the coyote after hearing that a few times going, would you just do what I ask and get in the cage? Alright, I regress. So we're just quickly getting ourselves set up here. We don't have the ability to store this stuff yet, but we're going to quickly throw this together. Yes, robots would be lovely right here. Let's not forget that straight pipe, because what will happen is I'll say I'll come back and do it, and then I won't. Just quickly run along here. And being able to, I love how the pipe swings around because it makes it so much easier. If you had to swing that pipe constantly, it would just drive you nuts. So, kudos to the designers. Good thing you've done here. Whoopsie. Now I've done it. Okay. So now we've got our refineries. They're just about set up. Just need a little bit of power in here. And we'll get some lights in here too. You know, refineries always should be just lit right up. We should probably just like lights all the way around it. It's like every photo you see of a refinery, there's so many lights. And ours is these dark little things. We probably should have like just everywhere. And at some point, I'm going to need some power right beside here, so that's going to work out well. And we're taking a little damage. Okay, I'm going to have to keep our eyes on that. And refineries, they're spitting out stuff, so that's good. So what we need now is we need some resources. We need a few chemical plants and things. So I think we're going to do the magic again. I think I'm just going to disappear, go build a few things. We'll come right back, and we'll start finishing the rest of this off. Oh, and our explosives are done. And since our explosives are done, we want to build cliff explosives. So there we go. We'll get that working, and maybe by the time I come back, we'll learn that as well. Okay, so hopefully no big change for you. Yeah, and we're back. Okay, so hopefully you didn't change anything, but hey, we got cliff explosives, so yeah, some time has passed. Okay, I think we will grab that solar energy. I'm not sure we're going to be able to afford it, but I want to kind of grab it because oil always makes me a little bit nervous. To be honest, it's just so easy to run out of the coal. Right now we got that line doubled up. But it's just so easy to have things go wrong, and then all of a sudden your plant drops. And, you know, if you got lasers out there, that can be really scary as well. So it's nice to have all sorts of the solar stuff up and running. Okay, so what are we doing with all this? Well, can we actually mine this out? This would be nice to get rid of. What are we doing? Well, we're going to do a few things here. In fact, we're going to do a bunch of tree clearing by the looks of it. We've got to get a bunch of space up here because we are going to lay out our ore lines, but I got to do a little bit of rail layout. It sounds really strange, but we're going to do some visualization here. So let's say we put these nice and close. Let's say we actually run these red tanks of heavy oil right here. And that's about as close as I probably want to get. And the reason why I say that is, while it might be very easy for us right now to say, hey, this is, you know, we could get these nice and close. I just never know what I need to run through things. Okay, so here's what our concern is. Heavy oil we typically don't ship out. Typically we just convert it into either light oil or we convert it into lubricant. So we need the ability to lay down some of these chemical plants for lubricant. Now, I'm likely going to start it right about here. So 2, 3, 4, 5. And what's going to likely happen is we're likely going to have a train line right here to pick up the lubricant. Which means that from about the side of here, being the closest it probably can be, will probably be the end of our train stations. Likely. Now, we can probably sneak the train station in a little bit, have the engines parked right beside it. But we kind of will want to blow most of these things out. And the only reason we're doing all that is we're trying to figure out what is our spacing between everything else. Because if we've got a rail line in here, let's just kind of visualize this. If we have a rail line here, and if that rail line, I don't know, was to have, let's just see what we've got here. Do we have anything that's even going to fit the bill? I don't think we do. So if we were to have, say, a train depot in here, it's going to have a loader, a box, a loader. It's going to have a track. It's going to have a splitter and a splitter. So it's going to look something like this. And then it's going to likely have a piece of track and something like that coming in. So, we know we need about that much space between every one of our tracks, and we also need to be able to make turns. So we kind of get into this position where we're really pressed for space in this little tiny area here because we likely don't have the space we require. Now the good news is this thing here is the biggest we need. We actually will have some of those that are going to be much smaller, and all they're going to be is basically a couple of tanks. They'll look something like this, probably about that big, and then they'll have a couple of these pumps sitting on the end loading the trains. So they're a little bit shorter, but if we assume everything's this big, we have extra space. So what we can do then is we can come along and we can grab this and we can go, yep, keep that. And then the next thing we got to worry about is curves in the track. So if we grab our curved track and we say, okay, if something's coming in here, we want to make sure that if it's coming from the outside here, it's likely going to be somewhere around there. Which means we don't want the curve of our tracks going all the way in there. It needs to start about here, otherwise we don't have places for switching. So we want to say, hey, if this is where the track was to come in, excuse my voice, we kind of say, okay, look, we don't really have a lot of space here for these tracks, but we probably just have enough. So this is a pretty good idea of where our track needs to come in, hence why we can't build without the cliff explosives. So, I mean, we could just shamble it all in here, but we want this to be long term. This is why we're going to hold off and build our explosives. But what it means for us is if we were to grab our next blueprint, being this one, and wedge this in here, let's just say it's there, then we can start eyeballing and saying, well, We also need to allow for 2 pieces of line on this side, likely to load the trains. We'll probably be loading the, what is it, light oil fuel? This stuff here, this solid fuel. We'll be putting that onto the trains likely here and loading them up with that fuel. So, if we've got that all going on, we want to leave ourselves a bit of space. So we say, okay, this is why I like to do this, because you see how that jumps that extra step? It will typically do that to you. Because it's trying to figure out where the rails need to live. So we're going to wipe this out now, because this was a temporary, hey, will this fit here? And we're just refitting ourselves in here. And I'm not saying this is exactly... I'm not saying this is exactly where those will live. Sorry, I was having a minor death cough there. But that's starting to give us an idea what it looks like. So basically, if you start thinking, what are these? Well, this one's likely going to be explosives, okay, because we're going to probably put our explosives way up the top. Well, we're going to need plastic. Plastic can be here. What else do we need? Well, I like to usually have one for light oil. We'd like to build our rocket facilities off-site, so that means we're going to need to ship the light oil in and build the solid fuel somewhere else, and then the rocket fuel, etc. So I want one for light fuel. As we talked about, we're going to need one for lubricant, and so this means these might need to move. In fact, they might need to move down, so we might want to move that a little bit closer. So it's good that we're eyeballing. We're going to need an oil in line, so we're actually going to need another one right about here, which we can't even place in here right now, but we can eyeball. And then we're probably going to need, I don't know, probably something else. I've probably forgotten something. There's always seems to be more and more. Actually, sulfuric gas. We've forgotten sulfuric gas. So one of these needs sulfuric gas. So we've got a lot of need in here. And that means our spacing has to be, you know, taking all that into consideration. So, in fact, if this is explosives, and this is sulfuric gas, and this is light oil, and this is lubricant, and I feel like I forgot one. We got plastic still to deal with. We're still short one. So we're actually really short of space in here. It's almost like I'd like to knock that wall out and go further. Our alternative is building something in here. And the other thing is if we're going to build something like sulfuric gas, we need to ship in plates. So we're going to need iron plates. So we might have to go 2 sides on here and figure out how we're going to do that. Alright, so we'll figure it out. We do probably have, like I said, a little bit more spacing here. We might be able to crunch it up a little bit, but we kind of want to keep it a little open. Okay, so why are we doing all that? Because I'm trying to figure out where these tanks, how tight I want them and how close I need them together. There's something else that's going to dictate that for us, and that is the conversion. So if we're going to have something like this here, and it's going to look like this, and do we want to move this now? Because this is going to be our last chance to move it. I need a pump jack on the back likely, which is 2 spaces. 1, 2. And a pipe possibly. I don't really want to take it much closer. As much as I'd like to push it down for that, I think we're going to just keep it here. So what we're looking at here is this is the ability for us to pull off of here and build across here. And this will be our heavy to light oil. And then what we want to do is we want to eyeball, okay, if there's a couple of things coming out being the pump, we're actually going to need a little bit of a jump, and we don't want to build this too close for the next one. So what I do is I typically lay these out, and that tells me where I can lay these. Yes, so much work just to figure out what I'm doing. It's kind of crazy, but there we go, and there we go. So now we've got those, and we can kind of just keep doing this over and over again. So from light oil, we need to go to petroleum, and we can actually just look at the spacing. It's 1, 2.5, basically. So it's about 2.5 or a half point. So we can do the same thing again. Just kind of lost my mind there. Okay, how come? Oh, I left the space. I keep doing the same thing over and over again. So if I leave a space, it's actually exactly 2. Okay. So it's actually 2. So just do that. That's easy. Didn't like the way it was working out the first time, but definitely like that. Okay, so this is our petroleum. And because this is where our petroleum is going to be, and why did I put something right off the petroleum? Well, because this could be plastics, this can be sulfur, this can just about be anything. So, heavy to light, light to petroleum, petroleum to A, B, or C. That means we can now start doing this. We can bring this up into a tank. We can bring this one out here, and we can run it up the side here. And we can bring this one out here and bring it up the side as well. And that allows us to get all these things into tanks. And that was what all that was about. That was just us figuring out how are we going to get this laid out so that we don't have to want to rip it up in about 10 minutes. Okay, so we've got that. Why are we not getting any light oil? Because we missed one side to there. There's always a reason. So there we go. So we've got light oil coming in. We got heavy coming in. These two are going to fill up on us pretty quickly until we hurry up and get to our explosives. Sorry, just having a moment. Modules. Wow. Not going to need those for a while. Let's get electric engines. We're going to need that for research eventually. Okay, so we got a bit of space here. Going to chop out some more trees. And I have a feeling maybe I didn't make enough of these. Oh, boy. We'll actually do it this way. We'll lay out a temporary line in between. I thought I made more than enough, but... Oh, that's because I've stole some. I know why we don't have enough, because I went and stole some for another thing. So we'll go get this back. Oh, my goodness. Okay, remember that thing I talked about with the power going out? That would be that just happened. And, of course, we lose radar. We lose everything. So let's go find out why we lost power. Either we just kicked up a lot with those refineries, which I'm guessing is probably the case. We may need to bring other power online here. And that is not good, because what that means is, right now, that if our guns get attacked heavily, they can't reload, and that means our defense is falling down. And bugs seem to know exactly when it happens, because they always seem to attack right when that goes on. And they're taking out the walls, because they've figured out the guns are down. I think there's logic in the system. If power drops, throw everything you got at the walls, because... Oh, we bled off. I'm looking at the wrong darn line. Okay, we can fix this. We can fix this fast. We're going to actually grab this other line here. Let's do this properly. I had thought for some reason in my head we had already done this. But we will get this fixed really quickly here. So remember we talked about having to put coal in here. We've got a little bit of coal on us, and luckily we probably can get this up and running real quick. So we may as well show you how to reboot one of these puppies in case you've ever had this go on. So we're going to need some coal. In fact, we'll use some wood if we have to. I'm having to do it this way because I've got too much stuff in my bags. As long as we get those inserter arms twisting. And if you can't do that, start disconnecting your power line so that at least you can get your power up. So if this doesn't happen, if your arms don't go, just clip all your power lines to it and get your arms internally rotating. So as long as you keep yourself connected to your steam engines, you're in good shape. Okay, so this is going to start feeding that. That'll have lots of coal, not a problem for us. And now we just got to go and deal with the bugs because they'll have been having their way with our walls. So let's just take a quick look. It's over there. And, of course, look at how many they threw at us. It's just like, yep, it's time for us to come through and just do whatever we want. And that seems to be the modus operandi for them. They just, hey, look, the power's down. Okay, what are we still getting warnings for? It's almost like they got scouts sitting out there and it's like, hey, the lights went off. Quick. That should be one of the things you can do. You should be able to drop your power and then have all the bugs attack and then flick your power switch back on and just kind of go to town on them. In fact, I should try that sometime. I should see if it works. I should just shut down everything. I have a feeling it's based on the power output, not necessarily the fact the power is on or off. But I should try it just for fun. So we're going to need to, speaking of sporadic coal fields, we knew this one was really crummy when we started. So we'll come back and we'll fix that up and get it up and running. But I think what we'll do is we'll call this an episode since we're way over here dealing with this issue, and we'll get back over here next time and work on getting those cliff explosives, because we've got a little bit more work to do. We still have to get some coal in here, so we're going to have to ship some coal from over here, and we're going to bring it all together back up in here. So we're almost there. We're just going to have to put in 2 more lines of these chemical plants. Once we get the chemical plants in place, we'll be in a good position to get those cliff explosives. We get the cliff explosives, we can start laying out all sorts of train network, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that because I really do enjoy the trains. So really thank you for joining me. This has been episode 15. I'm Nerd Dad, and I am